It's the Market Sniper. Welcome to TikTok Economics with Gary Stevenson, your working class hero in a hoodie. What's for the Jedi mind trick as he shows another fool, Piers Morgan, how to get confused about all things economics. Let's watch the clip.
If you know your history, can you point to a period in UK history, for example, where massively punishing rich people by massively taxing them has actually benefited the country?
Listen,
because I can't really.
My dad was born in 57. He worked for the post office, Royal Mail, 35 years. Never once earned more than the average wage in the country. He was able to buy a house, support a family. My parents are retired now. They own their own property. They're financially secure. That's not possible now. He lived in an era where the top rate of tax was much, much, much higher. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s in the UK, in the US, the top rate of tax on large estates was significantly higher. And in that time period, it's not a coincidence, ordinary people could afford to buy houses. They could afford to, listen, this is not normal, okay? Read your history, right? You read Charles Dickens? In this country we're talking right now, 150 years ago, ordinary men and women lived in desperate poverty, okay? That's gonna happen again.
That's going to happen again, he says. And the reason it'll happen again is because you're not taxing wealthy, which actually means middle class people, because the real wealthy don't pay tax. They don't pay meaningful levels of tax. They leave, they have structures, they are well advised and consulted to on tax efficiency affairs. Okay, so our friend Gary Stevenson, let's have a little look at who he is. Because this man is suddenly appearing on the algo bots on my screen all the time. Everyone, I'm not even in the UK. If you even have an interest in trading, you've got this guy. If you have an interest in investing, you've got this guy popping up. You've got actually someone who was asked a question by Piers Morgan and was actually allowed to answer it. Very strange. The only shocking thing is he wasn't interrupted. And now Piers Morgan is the one who's been slam dunked on this point. And we will go into the normies comments where you will realize how the base level standard Jedi mind trick is enough to fool most of the masses, and why the UK is wrecked and about to go into a culture of envy on account of YouTube putting these kind of clips in front of you and getting these kind of comment response. Let's have a look at some of the comment flows apart from my pukes. I love our taxes are punishment for the rich but obligation for the poor. Yes, the poor. Love that answer. It's literally living within literally within living memory. What's in living? Let's try again. What's literally within living memory? The fact that the currency has been so badly debased that a working class hero's daddy could do a dull job like working in the post office and have a wife at home, have cars, holidays, pay for his home over the duration of his lifespan, reach retirement, and be mollycoddled and in good comfort. Well, it says a couple of things, by the way. And listen, I love working class heroes as much as the other man, legitimate ones. But I will point out, and it might be deemed a little unfair, but if you have one breadwinner and all he ever aspires to do is to work, deliver letters, work in the post office, it's not necessarily high ambition. He should be quite grateful. And here's the thing. Who hired the post office man? The state. Where's all the debt that's currently preventing two young doctors from barely having enough money to even buy a home in the UK? Where did the debt come from? Over the last 50, 60 years, built up by governments, both Conservative and Labour, although Labour particularly added it on, that leaves you now in a situation where debt is being devalued, currency is being printed and proliferated, and the buying power of that money has fallen so far, you need to go look for the gold chart to see the dollar and see how it's lost 97% of its buying power since 1913. Non-stop down. That means it has 3% of the buying power it used to have. That's why you need 2 working family members in a family. That's why you need better jobs than a post office just to have an ordinary lifestyle and to afford a house and to pay it off over your lifetime. That is a function of the central banker cartel, whose policy is inflation, that has gone unhinged on currency devaluation, inflation, whilst telling you that it's only a moderate 5-6%. BLS, lies, damn lies, and statistics in the America. Same for the numbers in the UK. Let's have a look at some of the comments in Normie Land, United Kingdom. Love that answer. A postman could buy a house for his stay-at-home wife and 2 to 4 children and be able to go on vacations and all. Imagine that. 95 replies. You whoopee, whoopee, whoopee do. It's called money that has buying power. It's also called protected status employment that, thanks to a lot of Labour governments, would have seen golden pensions awarded to those that worked for the state because they regularly voted Labour as well, which ensured 1/2 of the binary blue versus red continued to look after status workers, that the current generation who can't afford homes, that are on private jobs and have to buy private pensions, do not get. Actuarially, it is the most perverse thing to get CPI growth on your pension in the UK long after you've retired. It is perverse that the younger generation has to pay for a one postman family pension until they die at the levels that these spoiled workers were given back then. Although it's awesome when your money buys real value. It's awesome. I'm glad they got it. They should consider themselves reasonably lucky that they weren't born in this generation and had everything the youth of today face, and the slab, the debt slab, for maintaining them in a pretty cool fixed hours job where service levels were a bit patchy and they could hardly ever be fired, was pretty generous, and the costs thereof of running the state enterprises, like British Rail before it was privatized, like the post office before it was put on the block and sold to the city bankers, more on them because we're no friends of them either. Like all the other state-based jobs, Whitehall, etc., that give these unbelievable pensions to the working class hero's dad. What other comments have we got? Can you point to the period? Gives the exact year. Well, he didn't give an exact year. He gave an example of the loss of buying power of money thanks to a central banking cartel with its banking cohorts and the cooperation of whoever was the government of the day, that is actually junior government, to the shadow government and the central bankers. So what you really have is a story of conflated argument. Here, Gary Stevenson, your TikTok economist, tells you the reason why his parents could afford, on a one-person salary in a status job of not great skill, to have the retirement they have, is because the middle classes, remember what I said about the rich leave. The rich are directors of corporations registered elsewhere. The real rich will not be paying the tax hikes that they do. Just have a look at Google. How much of a percent does it pay? Have a look at Apple. How much does Apple pay? Have a look at the technological megacorps and the billionaires that own them. How much do you really think they're paying into the UK pot? Not a very jot of much at all. Not a jot at all, my friend Gary Stevenson. And let's have a little look before we come back to Normie Land comments. Where's Gary Stevenson actually coming from? There he is in his skull and hoodie, identifying with the masses. He's a millionaire. He's a self-made millionaire. Oh, no. He wasn't a self-made millionaire. He was the most profitable trader on interest rate debt markets in 2011, He became Citibank's most profitable trader by correctly predicting the after effects of the 2008 crisis. This is what he wrote on his own site. In 2014, he retired at 27 as a multimillionaire to study economics and inequality at Oxford University. Well, we know where the spies and the controlled hangouts come from, don't they? They come out of Oxford and Cambridge. They sure do. He is currently working on economic models of inequality, wages, and asset prices. Well, it's quite simple, Gary. I can explain all of those to you in about 5 minutes. So, here you have a man who literally worked for David Rockefeller's bank, who's made a bunch of cash according to his own terms. And let me tell you, making money in the markets when you are a broker with a bottomless overdraft in a mega bank is far easier than doing it on your own without the credit lines, the deal swaps, the get you out of jail mates, the insider intel and information, the research reports from bright minds all around you. Far easier than being an independent retail trader from home or investor. So take it with a pinch of salt. He had one big year. Well done to him. Here he is, David Rockefeller. That's his bank, Chase Manhattan Bank. And when did Chase become part of JP Morgan? Oh, he actually said Citi. Sorry, I've got it wrong. He's not Rockefeller Bank, he's Citi. He's Citi. Citi was First National Bank. First National Bank that became known as First National Citibank, that eventually became Citibank, owned by the colleagues and friends of David Rockefeller. I correct myself. No direct association, just a rival bank that he could have swapped jobs to. Okay, so we get the kind of vibe of where his wealth comes from that sent him to Oxford and sees him now being the king of swing on the algo, the Google algo. So Gary Stevenson is showing up on everybody's Google algo, is slam dunking and Jedi mind tricking a very simpleton Piers Morgan on the basis he's conflated the fact that causation isn't correlation. At the time there was high taxes in the UK, the money hadn't devalued enough and there was sufficient plushness in status employment that a postman could actually get to own his own home in the end and have a reasonable life. Okay, well, what changed, Gary? The buying power of the money changed, not the tax rates. By the way, in America, at the same time of those 50s, 60s, and 70s, they ran lower tax rates and people became across the board significantly wealthier than all of the average number of United Kingdom's wealth. In fact, the 50s, 60s post-war years with low tax rates in America, Americans became far wealthier. They gave birth to far larger new innovations, corporations and businesses, and actually left the UK in the dust, such that the UK was referred to as the sick man of Europe through the 60s and 70s with those same high tax rates that Gary Stevenson says, it's not a coincidence, you know. Yeah, I saw it there, I see it there, in it. It's got to be like that, in it. It's got to be cause and effect, in it. No, Gary, it has nothing to do with it, you TikTok economist. It's got absolutely nothing to do with it. What you had was a post-war boom with the boomers returning, and Britain had a far lesser one that had got called the sick man of Europe during incredibly high taxation where talented people left for America. Yes, why not? Okay, so that's what we hear from our friend Gary, who's got 835,000 subscribers just on 290 videos. It wouldn't shock me that this is quite a new channel, by the way. And Gary, with his hard-hitting, street-talking, hoodie economics, is getting right in there and spinning simpleton Piers Morgan, who never stopped to interrupt him, not once throughout his explainer, his little explainer about how taxing your way to wealth, government as most efficient utilizer of capital, we should have higher tax rates than postmen could actually afford houses. Here's what's going down, Gary. The reason why your Charles Dickens, which is very little real history or relevance to this discussion, but he wanted to talk history and name drop. And by the way, look at this lovely of a girl. Here she comes, here she comes. What a refreshing video when we have someone who puts Pierre in his place. Piers is a jerk. He was all for the CV19. I don't like him and everything that went with it. When Pierce goes silent, you're winning the argument. This is a setup, Pyrrhic victory for a new cultivated TikTok culture of envy. Taxation is greatness in Britain again guy. And you just look at this and you see how he's been farmed around. And look at the comments quality. He's absolutely right. My parents were working class, had to raise a large family. Tax was at a whopping 65%. Today, a 2-bedroom apartment. So you think if you tax. So here's how it works. The loss of buying power is the water level coming up under you. That is the inflation. Your pound gets you less and less from up under. The central bankers are behind it. It is why against an ounce of gold, you've lost 97% in the dollar. It's worse in the pound. Go have a look at the chart yourself in terms of buying power. You are on the wrong side of a compound interest and equation, and that is exactly why a postman with a family, a wife and a family of kids can't do what his dad got to do, that he should be exceedingly grateful for. He should also be exceedingly grateful for that he got millionaired out being put on top of a mega machine with insider intel where they clearly cheat like all hell and Chinese walls are just a myth and all those other benefits to trade professionally on behalf of everyone to get that opportunity to make the amount of money he's made, assuming everything he reflects is accurate. He's 100% correct. I'm 84 this year. The vid starts with Pierce saying, if you know your history, and then immediate, honest, intelligent, and factual response. What's factual about assuming the high tax rates of the 60s, the 70s, and the 50s for that matter, that made Britain grow less than America, is the reason why your money, the strength of your money, has been destroyed? And do you give additional money to the very group of government, commercial bankers, and central bankers? Do you give your tax money to that troika in an accelerated way so that you can be squeezed from the top as well as from the bottom as the buying power of your money disappears like this? That is why you will get Charles Dickens poverty, because you're taken towards totalitarianism, total socialism with extreme high rates, until eventually all your private property will have to be sold to the likes of BlackRock in every dump and crash, until you own nothing and are a rental serf on UBI or a statist employee hired by government to do exactly what you're told to do. And this time you'll be on a much lower stipend in terms of real living standard than Gary's dad, who got away with one and whose debt for funding that is sitting on that next generation. My suggestion to Gary, given your exorbitant privilege for trading for a vampirical parasitic cartel of bankers, I suggest all your money should be stripped from you and you should be put on the wages of a postman today and pay to all those people that are so underprivileged and need the largesse. I suggest that your father's pension should be greatly reduced to the levels of pension that a privateer that is earning the same amount as a postman, that doesn't have the benefit of the state golden plated pension, will likely retire on. Once those things have been done, please feel free to come and preach about the loss of buying power in the pound as opposed to the value of taxing the people far higher so that people can buy houses. That is the most convoluted Jedi mind trick of absolute nonsense that I've seen. You're going to see this guy, he's cultivated as the financial economic version of a Tate. He's Britain's answer, the working class hero to our friend the Tate brothers. Only instead of pimping women out and abusing them and teaching males how to do it too, so that you can become a gangster and drive a Bugatti. You can walk around in a hoodie like a millionaire without ever recognizing that you were part of the machine that brought the destruction of that currency. Gary, you are the enemy. You did it. You did it to everyone. Go and study at Oxford with the money you got paid from all the cartels you worked for. Go and study and give some of it back to the people you ripped off. The bankers were bailed out. The costs of 2008, where you made your millions, the bankers got their losses socialized, but they got to privatize their profits. And Gary was there making his millions, and now standing in a hoodie, looking at you all, telling you how bad it all is, and you should be voting for greater taxation, which will end up on the middle classes and the lower middle classes to pay for the blue-collar workers and the immigrants that have been farmed in by the same dark state, the same Whitehall mandarins, and the same insider cartel that have brought the financial misery. So you will be right, Gary, or approaching right on your Charles Dickens poverty, but let me tell you, you are part of it. You brought the socialism, you brought the culture of envy, you're preaching it now, and you are going to be there when the great communism, and you will own nothing and be happy, and you will have been part of popularizing it. I smell a rat with you. I smell a rat with the Google algo that is promoting you. I smell a rat with Oxford. I smell a rat with Piers Morgan actually having the decency to zip his gob when someone has an answer. It makes me wonder. This is a cultivated short. This is TikTok economics for the masses. It's there to feed and drive a culture of envy on the lower end of the market towards anybody who has a slightly better living standard. The United Kingdom is wrecked, and this man was part and parcel of wrecking it. And you don't need to go to Oxford to know that. He works for them, he worked for them, he took the money, he never gave it back, and now he's here to tell you how everyone else should be taxed. Till next time, I'll catch you later. Remember, there's a lot of Jedi mind trickery out there in terms of the world. We are failing under a debt-based system for funding the likes of status workers at an extraordinary level with gold-plated pensions they should never have. That entire deal should be broken down, renegotiated. The likes of bankers that got away with millions doing dark, dirty, insider, fraudulent deeds should be stripped off them, and those payments should be made to other members of society long before any form of taxation on everyday Joe who runs a private business. I have more respect for an Irish traveller who asks to pave my drive and breaks his back doing it and earning his crust with a value add from his own sweat and tears selling door to door than I do to convert city bankers. My goodness. Thank you, Gary. I'm sure you're going to become super popular, but we smell you and you stink.
Tired of profit wipeouts and blown accounts from following trade signal groups and other YouTube channels? Looking for a better way to trade, reduce your stress, and minimize your risk? Become a skilled technical analyst and see the charts and markets in a new light using the successfully proven HVF method by Francis Hunt, while being surrounded and supported by a principled, structured, and experienced community. Enjoy a constructive learning environment while practically trading markets, supported by a bespoke platform run through browser and app, specifically designed to teach and engage you whilst learning and growing as the markets move. This is not a Telegram or Slack signal group. All trade ideas are based on a proprietary technical analysis process honed over decades, which is the HVF method, leading to trade ideas with fast-moving breakouts and tight stops, exact entries and exits, nuanced interim considerations, and ultimately, strong rewards. Submissions are graded and scored by Francis for potential high-quality setups, and we provide bespoke tools to help get the job done properly and with precision. Over time and with focused effort, you'll begin to look at charts and price action just like Francis. Community updates every day by Francis and our 3 webinars a week provide a 360-degree approach, which are presented by our experienced team of trade leaders to spot potential trades. We're a community of self-actualized individuals, spanning the globe and active 24/7, 365. The premium community provides a warm, supportive, and cooperative place for people willing to listen, participate, contribute, and to learn. We've changed thousands of traders' lives. Transform your approach to trading now. Transform your life. Book an introductory call with us on the link below.